I can't see Gary online, so I presume he's not. You say try, but I'm sure I'll send a message if he can get on.
Yeah, I saw his email, so he's saying that the hotel Wi-Fi blocks Skype.
Yeah. I think I've seen that. It depends on the call quality and the bandwidth and things. Right. So if he jumps on, I'll add him in. Right. Jason, good evening.
Hello, Ian. How are you?
Okay, good. We're back from our week break.
Yes, yeah. Did you go anywhere nice?
Yes, nice. I was down on the south coast. It was very hot and yeah, very nice. It was swimming in the sea, bit of a trip across the Isle of Wight on a hovercraft. I've never been on a hovercraft before.
Oh wow! Yeah, I've been on a long time ago, but
yeah, it was pretty good actually, and yeah, nice relaxing time. Did a bit drone flying as well.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah, so although one of the lads got his drone stuck up a tree.
Oh no!
Yeah, they did.
I've got a advert playing on your site. Hang on.
All right. You should install the AdBlock extension.
Yeah. Let me switch to Edge. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I went on a hovercraft when I was many years ago, but yeah, you had some good weather in the UK last week, didn't you?
Yeah, really good. Yeah, it was very hot, so in the sea and everything. So you were away as well, weren't you?
Well, yes. Yeah, me and the family went off to Portugal. So I spent a week in the sun, in the very hot sun, with a kid on each side of me with their iPads and me with nothing to use.
Because you couldn't use it because of your Surface. You could take your Surface Pro 3 because of its poor battery life or non-existent battery life. But we do have an update on Batterygate today.
We do, yeah, finally, yes. So last night, which is not really at the weekend, especially given it was a Sunday. Actually, no, it's bank holiday.
Bank holiday, yeah.
Yes. In my head, I was thinking it was Sunday yesterday, but so yeah, yesterday, very late. I think it was about 8-9 o'clock. I think it was.
Yeah.
Suddenly, I was subscribed to the topic on the Microsoft Answers forum, and suddenly I noticed my phone was pinging a lot, and I noticed that there was quite a bit of chat about an update for the Surface Pro 3, and I think some people had already got it installed and said that they'd seen the battery capacity return back up to normal. And so I rushed off to get my Surface Pro 3 and spent about an hour trying to get the thing just to stay on. And then because it tried to boot up and then literally just switched off, I then got the diagnosis screens running.
Yeah.
So that obviously then chewed at the battery, which prevented distance time. But eventually I managed to get enough charge into the battery for it, thinking it had enough charge in the battery to get it on, and got the update installed, and the battery capacity had jumped back to almost where it should be. And I noticed today it's still climbing. I think what I need to do is kind of exercise the battery a bit. But yeah, thankfully, hopefully it looks like the nightmare is finally over. It took a couple of hours for Microsoft actually posting the forms, which I thought was a bit disappointing. I thought they might have at least let us know it was kind of coming.
Yeah, it was a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, and even then,
a bit of guessing it worked initially, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah, exactly. I mean, we had no official confirmation, and I think finally, but late one in the evening, about 9:30, 10 o'clock, I think, a Microsoft official came on the forum and posted that this was the fix, and linked to an FAQ which involved recommended running it on the actual power supply with the Surface Pro 3 rather than the dock. And I think for those people still capable of running on with some length of battery, I think that was really just kind of a precaution. So but I mean, at that point, that was the only way I could get mine to really come on and stay on.
So actually, you should just, in case anybody's having this problem, because I think you had to sort of describe it in the forums, and you just go through what was the actual procedure you got then, because a few people were struggling to even get going with it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, a lot of people had kind of reached that point where they just couldn't get their Surface Pro 3 to even turn on. They literally, like mine was doing, literally turn off halfway through boot, or sometimes they get to the log on screen, and then because of the obviously the starting up services and the draw on the CPU, it then kind of hibernates. And so what I actually did in the end was to switch off the device and then hold down the power button and the volume up, which is the recommended way to get into the UEFI BIOS screens. And then when the Surface logo appears, you let go of the power button, but keep the volume up button depressed. And that gets you to the BIOS screen. And then I left it like that for probably 20-25 minutes, depending on I wasn't being very patient. And that gave me, or allowed the battery to think it had enough sufficient charge for it to actually power up. Yeah, what we now know from the information posted from Microsoft is that the problem was the amount of charge the battery was reporting. So the battery was reporting like 100%, which is why it was stopping charging, even though it was only a few percent charged. So problem with default power settings, once the Surface drops below 6% battery, it hibernates as part of its power plan, or at least that's how mine's set up. Obviously, you can customize it. And so what mine was doing was literally powering up, seeing that it only got 3 or 4% battery and hibernating. So it's really just a case of getting it into a state where you can leave it switched on, leave it charging so that the battery thinks it's got capacity in order to get past that. I mean, I know some people had used a registry setting, which then reveals another additional power plan setting, which is to throttle the CPU to 65%. But I hadn't bothered with that. So yeah, so literally left it charging. That got it into boot. That allowed me to keep the Surface Pro 3 on long enough to check for the update. The update then downloaded but wouldn't install because it needs there's a safety threshold of 40%. So kind of waited for that to get exceeded, and then finally got the BIOS update installed. Restarted it to install it, which is a proper BIOS update. It's not a Windows update. You kind of see the white progress bar underneath the Surface logo. And then, like I say, later on, Microsoft provided some detailed information on what the update contained, that confirmed that it was the fix, and also saying that after you've installed the update, you then need to do a second restart, I guess probably for a driver update to take effect. One of the things that's interesting is none of the battery drivers have actually updated. It is the UEFI BIOS driver that's actually changed. So it's clearly not directly related to the battery. It was really that the device was reporting an incorrect battery charge value, which made Windows and obviously power. You know, we know from the cheap batteries that the last thing you want to do is overcharge a Leon battery. So that's what that cuts out as soon as it thinks it's charged. So yeah, my capacity is now pretty much back to normal. I'm recording this on battery power and currently showing 83% charged, and I've been using it this evening since 100%. Was seeing estimates of about 8 hours. It's currently showing 3 hours 57 minutes, but obviously I've got your chat room open in Edge. We're using Skype for the call, which I tend to find does make the CPU run quite hot in terms of on my Surface Pro 3. So 3 hours 57 minutes active use is probably what I would expect. I know from kind of light web browsing and email and stuff, you can probably look to get 5, 6, maybe even 7 hours out of it. So, but also my battery capacity isn't fully restored, and the device is 18 months old. These batteries do degrade, and I know that my majority of my use of my Surface Pro 3 is on the dock, so it's permanently plugged in, which is again not something that's recommended. So I'm probably not treating my battery in the best of kind of keeping it healthy, but certainly the battery get issues, it shouldn't have been as bad as it was. I mean, I think I was literally down to like 10 seconds battery power.
You were on seconds. You've gone from seconds to hours.
Yeah, and you can literally see that you unplug it and it says 100%, and you literally watch the percentage counter decrease down to 0, and then the thing switches off. It doesn't even have time to hibernate.
And of course, when you do the power config battery report, it shows you the amount of milliwatts capacity of the battery. And that should be like 4400 or something like that.
Yeah, so my lowest point was 1695. So it wasn't as bad as some people. I think some people were down to like 244.
Yeah.
But mine is now showing just over 36.5, which is up an improvement since yesterday.
Yeah.
And the maximum is 40. The design capacity is 42,157. So I'm not expecting to get back to that figure. It'd be nice if it does. But yeah, so far so good.
Yeah, and I think I should be able to credit Gary in there. I mean, mine's still at 42 as well, which we've already talked about, the other battery. Good evening.
Good evening. Welcome from Germany.
Hello.
I don't know how good quality I am on my hotel Wi-Fi.
Oh, it's not too bad.
That's quite good. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're just talking, Gary, about battery Jason's battery gives him hours now and not seconds on his service room.
Yes, I'm actually running on battery. That's how I roll. That's how I roll.
It's the first time you've been able to use it on battery for months, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I must admit, it's really only, where are we now, end of August. It was really end of July, beginning of August where mine got really bad, partly through me trying to run various diagnostics. So I was running the battery down, which is, now we know what the underlying issue was. That was the worst thing to do because it wasn't charging correctly. And so that's why my capacity dropped down much more rapidly. It was kind of hanging okay because I always use it pretty much powered. The only time it really draws on the battery is if I use it freeform, which I did when I started to write the post from Gary's site, the Xbox One update piece, and I started to write that, and I think I got an hour and a half out of that before I had to go and plug in and finish it off. But yeah, by the time I was done, it really was just a few seconds. So fortunately, with this update, it's all behind us. And one of the things I will say, I mean, I'm still very critical of the way Microsoft handled it. Mine started declining back in kind of April time. Some people started declining in February. Why this wasn't picked up from telemetry and just fixed? Why it took so long, and why they didn't, hand out any kind of real information apart from really the last month, I guess. But one thing they have done is they have provided plenty of information this time. They've detailed what the issue was. They've got some FAQs about what to do to install it, and also, more importantly, they've also got confirmation that they will be reviewing each case where people have paid for a
that's important.
device. Yeah, absolutely. Although, because people will return these devices, and you do wonder, surely a proper process would be, if someone's returned a device because the battery's failing, you would have some kind of diagnostic process, I would expect, to go through that confirms, well, actually the battery is fine, so what's the underlying issue. I just think Microsoft's got a long history of making mice and keyboards, but really it's only the last 3 or so years they've been making PCs, and I still think there's some of that process missing that I think the likes of kind of Dell and Lenovo and HP would kind of have in place, or at least I'd like to think that they would have in place. But it's good that they're looking to into these cases of people that have paid and looking to reimburse them. But I said over the last few weeks, the reason why I wasn't claiming my warranty exchange is because this is my brand new device. I've looked after it. It's got no scratches. It's not been dropped. I didn't want a refurb device that might have, who knows why it was returned in the first place. So I think it's unfortunate in some ways that those people, they'll hopefully get their money back, but they still haven't got the device that they originally purchased. They've got it's essentially a second-hand device now. I know refurbs go through a lot of quality checks and are cleaned up and wiped clean and reinstalled from scratch. But even so, I wouldn't want to know that this wasn't the device that I should have had.
Yeah. And I'll hold my hand up and say I was very sceptical that it could even be fixed via firmware, and obviously I was proven wrong, which is, I'm really pleased to say I was proven wrong. But I was surprised that it could be done this way. So it shows you that it wasn't something very low level. Perhaps it was more like what Microsoft described it as the fuel gauge, don't they, that was misreporting.
Yes, yeah. So essentially, if you imagine your fuel gauge on your car showing empty, but every time you're trying to fill up, it's kind of overflowing. And then the fuel gauge immediately jumps to full again. But in fact, the reverse is true, that actually the car's got no petrol in it, but but you put a litre of fuel in it, it thinks it's full, and then you drive another mile down the road and it's empty again. So yeah, it's good to know. But like I say, they'll never talk publicly about this. They'll never admit where their processes broke down or why it wasn't spotted. But one of the things that Microsoft is so heavily criticised for, with Windows 10 in particular, is the volume of telemetry they're giving out. And you would expect this to get picked up. I mean, in some ways, which I'm sure we'll talk about, it's very similar to the webcam issue, because you look through the feedback hub and there were loads and loads of people reporting battery issues with Surface Pro 3s, and Donna kept referring to this. We've heard your feedback on battery life, but yet it wasn't picked up.
Yeah, it makes you think, Gary, what do they do with all this telemetry data, especially their own hardware?
I guess so, but sometimes these things are actually quite difficult. If you've got a huge amount of telemetry to go through, it's sometimes difficult to pick up. But you'd think with this, they would have been focusing on it, because I'm getting reports on the. I think I do wonder sometimes if they even notice what's going on support forums. If anything ever gets pushed up to them.
Yeah. Because what I meant, I think, Gary, before you came on the call, was that these devices were getting returned, and I've worked in call center environments before, and normally you have supervisors, team leaders that go, hang on a sec, we've suddenly got an increasing volume of calls relating to Surface Pro 3s where the batteries have an issue, and that should trigger some kind of escalation process.
Yeah, you think so.
Yeah.
But it's good to see that it's been fixed, and hopefully the people that have paid out money will get a refund. But it does make anybody considering a Surface Pro 5 potential purchase or a Pro 4 at the moment. It do makes you think long and hard about it. And I know that as a Surface owner of almost every device that they've launched, I know it's put you off, Jason.
Yeah, I mean, it's not actually so much the Surface as such that's put me off. It's kind of made me reevaluate maybe how I'm going to purchase technology. So, I love the idea of a two-in-one device, but the problem with that is there are compromises involved. And for me, this is a business device, so I do need to take a long, hard look and actually think. I'm fortunate that I haven't got to have just a single device. I could maybe have a tablet and a laptop, and so I should probably reevaluate what I do, and maybe even look at getting, rather than trying to get something that's really thin and light, given the way I used it, might it be better to actually look for something that's got a user replaceable battery, because at least that way, although I don't think it would have helped in this case, but it would be handy to be able to swap out a battery and at least know that, well, that's not the issue. But these problem with the Surface tablets is they are in many ways very similar to an iPad. They're not really appliances in the same way, but they are not designed to be user serviceable. The batteries are, from what I understand from people talking in the forums and the iFixit articles, the batteries are glued into the case. And in fact, I think with the Surface Pro 3, you can't actually remove the battery without cracking the screen. So then you're looking at, even if you dare attempt it, you're looking at replacing the battery and then replacing the screen at the same time.
Yeah, they're almost throwaway devices, but 1,500 quid more throwaway devices at the high end.
Yeah, and that's also really another, my big criticism is that, these devices cost a fortune. They are really high-end premium devices, and you can't treat customers in the way that they're done continually. Surface Pro 4 and Surface Book, they were very quiet on issues, even though they were obviously having power management issues. Surface Pro 3, I mentioned Surface Pro 2 with the battery issues. I know there was some issues, I think, with the original Surface. There was a number of complaints with them.
Two of those.
Yeah,
I think the one I've got now is my third one.
Yeah, just not powering on, and at the end of the day, I'm not expecting them to come, have massive in-depth blog posts saying we found a problem and this is it, and revealing all their top secrets to all their competitors, and obviously there's lots of legal issues, but I just think a bit more information. We hear you, we're looking into this, and there was, I think, almost a 3-week gap between some of the updates, and then the update comes out and we're left, we had 3 firmware updates, and each time we're left guessing. Just a simple post in that topic to go, we're releasing some new firmware today, I'm sorry it's still not fixed that you're waiting for, but each time we were kind of left guessing it.
Yeah, well, yeah, but it's good that it's working, and I just hope that everybody gets their money issues sorted out, and they can move on then, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think Peter Bright, in his article, again talking about the webcam issue, made some really good points that there are a lot of Windows insiders out there. We're a significant force to be reckoned with. But the problem is Microsoft devices don't install these on your production machines. Install them in a VM, install them in a non-production machine. So actually, he raises the question of how much real useful telemetry are they getting? Big obvious bugs like Explorer crashing, or driver issues, maybe those sort of bugs, or user interface issues are really obvious in a VM. But on a VM, you're unlikely to have a webcam connected. A VM's not really going to provide any battery telemetry, so it's quite an interesting conundrum. I wonder how they will adapt. It's almost, really the slow ring, I think, needs to become, we think this is good enough for a production machine.
But that's the real job of the release. Well, no, it's not the release preview, is it? I was going to say it should be the job of the release preview, but it's not. That's just for the current branch. So, yeah, you're perhaps right. Even the patches should be fast, slow, and very, very slow.
Yeah, either that or release preview becomes a much bigger. Yeah, either that or release preview becomes a much bigger buffer. So, rather than trying to meet certain deadlines, they go, well, actually, release it to release preview for a month before we release it out to the non-insiders.
I think that issue with the webcams and other stories, it's all driver related. And I helped someone today on Twitter having problems with their machine blue screening, and since putting the update on, the anniversary update, and that was down to a driver. And I said, just go through the device manager, pick the older version of the driver, whatever you can find for your video card, and see if that stops blue screening. And it did. And this is the issue on my Lynx and my Encore 8 and my test machine at work, where the drivers it uses aren't as good as the stable one. So, for example, on the Encore 8, the network, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, the network card doesn't actually connect to the Wi-Fi, which is a bit of a drawback of a wireless adapter.
Yes.
But why use that one and not use the one that's currently working? It just, I understand why they've gone for this false update model and use the latest driver, but there needs to be perhaps a better validation that the driver that's replacing the previous one is actually going to work.
Yes. Yeah, that's it. And particularly with firmware is very difficult to roll back. And drivers aren't too difficult, assuming you've got a copy of the old drivers. But firmware updates are almost once you're done, you're done.
Yeah, exactly. You never update. You can never go back on firmware, really, can you? Unless you start downloading files to flash your BIOS and offline.
Yeah,
it's a lot of a mess then.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's something they've got to be aware of, and I think it's something I'd like to see perhaps them using the feedback, at least looking at some of the feedback up a bit more analytically. Perhaps that's what they need to do. Perhaps they're looking at numbers and not to the actual context itself, or maybe there's too much information that if you take the batch issue in the feedback hub, there's perhaps just too much anecdotal evidence via the feedback hub, and so it's hard to parse what's actually useful data.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, using the service specific battery issue as an example, all the feedback was from insiders, which you would expect, but of course, all insiders are testing the latest, fast ring, slow ring builds of the next release. So that information can be misleading itself. So, as Donna said, we've heard your feedback on battery life, linking that to the Windows 10 anniversary update, but actually it was, people are trying to roll back to Windows 8.1, Windows 10 RTM. It made no difference, but obviously from a telemetry and from a feedback point of view, the context is the anniversary update that people are testing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but I mean, this is an evolving process, and Microsoft is always learning. I struggle to think that Back again.
You're back.